Okay. So I'm here talking today about the David, Anthony Burke, and Celeste Rivas situation. If you guys know anything about it, you know, that you can go look it up. If you don't know the full details, there's so many people making videos about this right now. So without me really knowing every detail, okay, I like to jump into things blindly. The first thing that I wanted to do was obviously to look at David's birth chart. I always take a little bit of a look over. I want to feel that energy first. And then I felt Celeste's spirit coming through. So I decided to take to a couple of different decks to really get the full scope and the full picture of what led up to this, how they met, what happened during the course of them knowing each other, and then ultimately what happened when she passed away. And I am going to be using, safe words like that, but I want you guys to know that this is already not a good situation. Please, I don't even know how to start this. It was like there was an urgency that came over me to say, please pay attention to what your kids are doing online, but it's so spoken about that I feel like it's like almost to say something like that is like it doesn't, people still aren't doing it, but and also how can you, like, oh my God. Also, I really hope that this case shines a light on how Black, brown, and Native women and children, and men, yes, but women specifically, their cases are ignored. When they go missing, there's not the same precedence. There's not the same urgency put into finding them as there is to a blonde-haired, blue-eyed 22-year-old girl like Gabby Petito, for instance. It's just it's always, it breaks my heart because there isn't enough effort. It's like their lives don't matter or something. And I get angry about it, but I'm not gonna go off on that, okay? Because we have too much to talk about today. One of the things that I really wanted to talk about a little bit before I get into the cards is that David was born an Aries Sun, Scorpio Moon. I do not like to see that. Aries, fine. Aries Sun, fine. It's exalted. But the detriment is in his moon. And what is the moon but the feminine, right? And it's intense, okay? The moon does not operate very well in the sign of Scorpio at all. Okay, there are positives and negatives to all placements, but a Scorpio moon is very intense. They have very intense feelings. They are somewhat chaotic. There's a degree of it almost feels like it's like love bombing, like they'll do that kind of thing, because they feel the potential and they live it like right in that moment. And it's like, it's too much and it's too soon. And it's like, they can be a little stalkerish. I'm not saying that every single one of them can be this way, but given what I've seen in his chart, Aries Sun, he also has Venus, Mercury, and his North Node in Aries. We do not know his birth time, so I don't know what house this is happening in, but he was born 22 degrees, with 22 degrees North Node in Aries and that is very telling. Okay. And what I'm seeing, and I don't know that they're going to be able to discover this because her body was so decomposed at the time they found it. But something was done to her head. Okay. Something was done to her head. I don't know if she hit her head, if there was a bullet in her head. I don't know, but something happened. And, I already know from her telling me and from the cards that he is responsible. And, we're going to get further into that whole thing. This is all seeming like if I can't have you, no one's going to have you. You are mine. Like fully wanting to take over the person and control everything because there is some kind of abandonment thing going on within him. And there's some intensity that it's like he's so reliant on these young girls that because there's been more than one. There's been more than one young girl that he's spoken to. And he comes on strong every time. And if you're like an adolescent, like 13, 14, and you are going through, you're crazed about boys or girls or whomever, and you get really like, you go through so much, hormonal change during that time that you have crushes on everybody. And of course you want to fall in love and you want to do all this. And now this famous person is paying attention to you. Oh my God. I can't imagine. But this is what she's showing me. Fate has a lot to do with this. Okay. Fate has come up twice here. So whenever I see that, fate and karma are playing a role in this situation. So there's something that was brought over. There is definitely a feeling here of something to do with his relationship with his mother or lack thereof, or it's just his relationship and how he sees women, how is pretty dark, okay? And I know he was into dark stuff, and I think he played around with that in a showy kind of way. And then behind the scenes, he kind of really wasn't a great person, but he came across as a great person up front, like on the surface. He was able to really, it feels like he was able to really trick people into believing that he was this like normal or like stand up kind of guy. And he was young too, so I'm not gonna like, who's just getting into his 20s, like he doesn't know who he is yet, but he wasn't really showing very good patterns of behavior throughout his life at all. And I think maybe he tried to be better, but I don't think that he was doing that consciously. I don't think he put a lot of effort into that. I think he gave in more to his dark side because that's what's coming up here. I do feel like he's responsible. That's what Celeste is telling me. And that it has to do with a chain of dynamic events unfolding, and that it feels like it was fated to happen. So I will go back to that, but I really want to move forward here. I'm getting that what he did in the beginning when he first met Celeste is that he told her things like, you're the only person I can trust. Like, I can't trust anybody. Like, this might have been in Discord. It might have been over the phone, like text messages or in private messages. But there was a lot of talking about her. You are the only person that I trust. I can trust nobody else. Like, you're my world, like that kind of stuff. And to her, it was like she was put under a love spell. That's what she's showing me, that there was a love spell. And it happened because he was putting her on a pedestal in his community. He was starting to do that. And that was building her up to believe him that she was everything to him and that he was in love with her. So they talked. I see him wanting to come and get her, like very, very, very early on. I don't know that if she had gone to a show. I just know that what she's showing me is that there was I'm coming to get you, the kind of very early on. So I don't know what, I just feel like it was like once he saw her and then he started doing this love spell, love bombing stuff, he was like, that's it. Okay. So here's what gets crazy. This begins then, she's showing me that there was a cycle. And it was a toxic cycle that a lot of people within relationships can get into. With people who are just not okay. And David just isn't, he comes across as that. And he is somebody that would like, he's so insecure, okay, that he would pick at something. He would almost be paranoid that she was like talking to other people or like things like that. And then he would like block her and wouldn't talk to her. And then he would win her back and enamor her again. It was all this game that he was playing. It was this thing that he did. And there is a very big emphasis that she is putting on the macabre, gothic, whatever he was into, that stuff. He was into death magic. Okay, he was into magic. He was into darker stuff. Okay, and on the outside, he was showing that he was like a person of God and stuff like that. So I really don't think that he was healthy at all. And he was doing magic, and it was something that was real. Like it was very strange how he could play it off as if it was all for show and all on stage and all of that kind of stuff. And this is just his style, but no. So he would start to do things to try to bring her back. Oh my God. Okay. He was doing this thing where he'd push her away, he'd block her, and then he would do this like ritual to see if she would come back to him and to see if it would work, almost as if he was testing it. And then like he would receive a message from her in another way or something like that. She would message him or he would message her in some way. And then it would start all over again. The cycle of abuse. Now I'm coming to get you again. So there was a point where they broke it off and she went back home, and then he came back and he was like, you're coming on tour with me, or like something like that. Like, you're coming on I'm going to take you to all these shows with me. And then we're going to be traveling, and it could have been on a bus or something, like a tour bus. But I see that happening, this breakup, and then this like, let me see if I can change her mind using magic, or let me see if I can, if she'll come back to me by doing this, and then I'll know that I can use that thing on other people or something like that. So he shows up. It's a huge surprise to her. He wants to separate her from his family, and he does so successfully. And yet at the same time, he was jealous of her family. The connection that she had with them was a threat to him. It sounds so messed up here. He had a lot of jealousy and envy over every little thing. He was severely, like, he had like really up and down energy when it comes to like his self-esteem. And he was kind of like paranoid about things because his self-esteem was so low. Like, he also lacked a lot of emotional intelligence. So having a relationship with somebody as young as Celeste was him. It was like that's what worked. He was able to have full control in those dynamics as well, because he was in a position of power, but his emotional intelligence matched that of a 13-year-old because of just his own development or lack thereof. So he wanted to come across to her family as a good guy and a nice guy, but they saw something. They heard the other side of things through Celeste, so they weren't buying it. Okay. And he was angry about that. Okay. Now the thing is that they were chirping in Celeste's ear. I want to say this was a brother. I really want to say it was a brother. It wasn't a female. It was a brother, or a male cousin, or just somebody that was in her family that spoke to her about her relationship with David on a personal level, told her, like, look, this is what's going on. But of course, as a young girl, it's not going to be easy for her to apply those things because she's young, and she is going to want to believe that her quote unquote boyfriend is good at heart and would never hurt her because I'm the only person that he can trust, and I'm the only person that he loves, and I'm, all of that. It's very, I cannot place any blame on her at all. Like, she was being tricked. She was being played. She was being groomed by him. So he would then, basically, what I'm seeing is that, like, the next time that they, like, after they broke up and he came back into the picture, he took her away from the family again. And then it's like, there was this just constant bliss going on. It was, again, this love bombing, this love spell that she felt she was under, and that he was actively trying to do so that she wouldn't leave him, that she would stay, and that she wouldn't go back to her family, who were telling her lies about him, is what she just said. So she doesn't believe that now. She's saying that in a sort of sarcastic way, like, that's what he said to her. Like, that's what he felt, that they were lying to her about him. And so they get back together, and then there is almost an immediate fear, okay, from her family. Like, they were prepared. They went to the court or whatever, the police, immediately. Once they were like, she's not, once they got wind of, like, why hasn't she been home? Like, even within like 2 days, I'm talking about, like, they knew already that this was something. And they also tried to get in touch with David's manager, or anybody that was higher above David, like that was was a third party that could get them in touch with him, because he blocked all of them. She blocked all of them. There was no contact whatsoever, and he wanted it that way. And then what I'm seeing here is she wanted to leave him. Okay. got to a point where she was scared, okay? She wanted to leave. She wanted to move on. She wanted to disconnect, and he would not let her go. And the overbearing, like it was becoming too much. The ego, his ego, all of that kind of stuff was a component in what led up to her death. So he made a very hasty decision in the heat of the moment. She wants to leave. He doesn't want her to leave. Okay. And then something erupts. And what happens is that it just was heat of the moment, instantaneous death. It wasn't something that was completely drawn out and like he beat her up and like all, that kind of thing. It was instant, and it was to the head. And that is why the world came out. Completion. And then the last of the oracles to come out was ascending. So that's what happened. The completion, the ascending. She is ascended. She is in her, she has made peace. She's not like stuck on, she's not earthbound. She's not stuck. She actually orchestrated so much of how things are playing out now. I'm very proud of her. I'm very proud of her for orchestrating things, because they found her the day after her birthday, which was September 7th. They found her on the 8th in the trunk. So this whole thing is so full of right in your face kind of evidence. Like all the components put together it's incredible. But this was a very this is high profile because he's famous. Okay? Why he's not a suspect right now, I don't know. Too much. I think this is how I felt prior to the reading. I was getting this impression that the police really don't want to say that he is a suspect right now because he might flee. I have no idea. I don't know what is going on behind the scenes, but I do know that it's being orchestrated in such a way to not raise David's suspicions. So that is how they're working it at this point. However, there is an emphasis on the police not giving her missing persons case any kind of time of day. They just overlooked it. Another brown girl missing. Well, who cares? So I really hope that it shines a light on what is going on there. But I do feel like it's been very clear in this. They were in a cycle of abuse. He was extremely emotionally imbalanced and intense, and that became apparent to her. She tried to get away. He pulled her back in again. She's a kid. Of course, she's enamored. She's won over by him. She's the celebrity's favorite. Imagine that. Something happens. Something happened. Okay, my hands are tingling right now, so there's another message coming through. Bear with me. Yeah. Ooh, okay. I'm hearing and I'm seeing sort of an in-person argument taking place. And I wouldn't be surprised if I don't want to see this. If he was like doing like what is it called? Like holding her, like, he wasn't like R-wording her, but he was like doing a lot of like chaining her up, tying her up, that kind of thing. That's how like far it goes with him when he needs to have that person be his, and that they can't have any freedom. They can't have any freedom. They'll leave him. They can't have any freedom. They're going to talk to another guy. They can't have any freedom. Their family is going to tell them that I'm unhealthy. And rightfully so. But he can't have any of that. And like I said, you know, he can only really play this part so much, like this good guy, Christian guy, before people really catch on. People who are in his inner circle know how he is behind the scenes. They've seen things, okay? He comes across as a great guy on the surface. I'm going to tell you right now, you watch any interview, and he was talented too. That's what really, I mean, I've heard a couple of clips of his songs. Man, what a waste. He just wanted to hole up with her and keep her his prisoner. That's what it feels like to me. And take her from her family because they were trying to talk her out of, you know, this whole thing. Like, they were getting, like, legal things. When she went home, she's telling me they were trying to get an order of protection for her against him because he was an adult and she was a minor. So there was a lot going on there, and that nobody was, because of his fame, he was able to like kind of dodge things, and he was able to control things and get on top of things before they happen. And of course, he's preying upon a family that's probably not well off, that, you know, lives in probably not the best home or whatever, and that, you know, he could trick by doing things for them, financially or whatever, to get what he wants, which is Celeste. So he did that. A lot of that. And a lot of his people saw it, okay? And I just think this was a very sick person. He's a very sick person, and he preyed upon the weak, he preyed upon the vulnerable, and that is terrifying. Terrifying for me to see this. But she's okay, and she's really okay. She just wanted this to finally come to light. She wanted this to all come out, and for him to stop getting away with things. So this is going to turn into a bigger thing. This is definitely going to be ongoing. I just don't think that we're going to hear very much about the investigation because, yeah, we're just not going to hear a lot about it until an arrest is made. That's how it's basically, that is how I'm being shown it's going to unfold. So, with that being said, this has been a reading about the David Anthony Burke, Celeste Rivas situation. And I hope that you are all doing well. I'm sending you so much love now and always.